Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Farah Alya binti Muhammad Taib. In this video, me and my partner will present about our title of research proposal, which is the impact of open distance learning toward mental stability among students. As an introduction, mental stability can affect the student in terms of energy level, concentration, dependability, mental ability, and optimism, and also hindering performance, which is stated by Isbert, D. Downs, and Goldberg-Steed. Mental health or stability need to be taken truly, as it plays an important role in ensuring the accomplishment or goals within college students. For example, the coronavirus has made our education system to turn into open distance learning, which is require student and lecturer to conduct a learning only through open distance learning, which is requires a student to have a Google Meet session, WebEx session, Zoom session, which also can give impact toward mental stability of the student. Alright, the problem statement in our research proposal is National Health and Morbidity Survey in 2019 has stated that in Malaysia, every 3 of 10 adults aged at 16 and over suffer from some form of mental health and stability problems. Due to experts, the causes of mental health and stability problems among students include anxiety and also depression. Next, students in Malaysia are facing with the mental health and mental stability problem during time, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic. The challenges due to open distance learning include poor internet coverage, especially in rural areas such as Sabah and Sarawak. For example, in the case of Viviana Mosibin, the student of University Malaysia Sabah, that have to struggle to have a good internet connection by overnight in the tree to attend an online university exam. Next, we will move to research question, which is what is level of mental stability of the UiTM student. Next, what is the relationship between the learning motivation and mental stability of UiTM student? The third is what is the relationship between the student lifestyle and mental stability? What is relationship between the level of social influence and the mental stability? What is the relationship between accessibility to resource and mental stability? And the last one, what is the most dominant factor that influence of the mental stability among UiTM students during open distance learning? Next, we will move to research objective, which is number 1, to examine the impact of open distance learning toward mental stability of the UiTM student. The second one is to examine the relationship between learning motivation and the mental stability of the student. To examine the relationship between the student lifestyle and mental stability. To examine the relationship between the level of social interaction and the mental stability. To examine the relationship between accessibility, resource, the mental and the mental of stability, and to examine the most dominant factor that influence the mental stability among UiTM students during open distance learning. Next, we will move to the scope of study, which is it is divided to 3 level, territory, and time. Level, the research is emphasized to UiTM Sabah student, and the questionnaire will be handed out to the student who are currently who are in semester 5 in Bachelor of Administrative Science. Territory, the respondent of this research apparatus to university students who are currently living in Sabah. And the time the research will be carried out beyond 2 semesters from October 2020 to July 2021, and the data accumulation is forecasted to be done in month of March to July 2021. Next is definition of terms. Number 1, mental stability. Mental stability can be defined as a positive state of mind that will result in the individual good performance. Next is student learning motivation. Student learning motivation can be defined as the student drive or needs that influence the student to work hard to achieve certain goals. Student lifestyle. Student lifestyle can be defined as the way students live, especially during learning process. The student lifestyle include how they manage their time, their stress, balance in learning, and sleeping pattern. Next is social interaction. Social interaction is also social relationship can be defined as the exchange of communication between two or more people. People need interaction to exchange the knowledge. And the last one is accessibility to resources. Accessibility can be defined as the quality of being able to be reached or enter. Accessibility to resources can be said as being able to use and have equipment that can be utilized to achieve certain goals. For example, during open distance learning, students might need sufficient resources such as money to buy laptop and internet coverage.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Yasmin. I'm going to talk about the literature review, which comprises of factors and variables. Firstly, factors is lectures performance. Some lecturers will require the students to merely referring to the YouTube videos or slides, which is not given brief explanation about what they are learning. This will cause the students to feel more demotivated to join the class and will take this lightly. So it will affect the performance of students in the whole semester. Next is technological advancement. As for a fact that we know, technology allows humans to connect without limitation of geography. This is in the context of restriction movement order, which it restricted us to meet up our friends to reduce the spread of the cases. So we use several live conference platforms such as Google Meet, Zoom, and many more. In order for us to utilize the said platform, we must be able to comprehend the basic knowledge, the basic ways to use the technology. Some programs or courses would require students to utilize several software such as statistical package for social sciences, which is used in the faculty of FSPPT. This will somehow affect the performance of students during online classes. I'm going to talk about the variables chosen related to the mental stability among students in UiTM and Kedah. For the first point is students' learning motivation. Motivation is needed to influence study, energy, academic performance, and adjustment and well-being in students among students. Motivation also works as a driver for students to move forward. With the motivation, here comes the will to gather the energy to fulfill one's task and go beyond what is told. With students with high levels of motivation have a superior learning ability or outcome compared to the ones that have lower levels of motivation. Next, we are going to talk about the student's lifestyle, which is in the context of sleeping pattern. Sleeping is very needed among adults, especially which we need to obtain more than 7 hours sleep per day to optimum health and well-being. getting adequate sleep also will affect the mental functioning and therefore impact students' performance on examination and ultimately grades received. Next is social interaction. In this context, we are talking about the current condition of open and distance learning, which students and lecturers are not able to communicate face-to-face because we are restricted to move around and stuff. We as students are used to discuss about assessment or assignment directly face to face without having to use technology such as smartphone or laptops. Face to face communication is far more effective as we are able to exchange ideas and we are able to see the body language. Um, through social interaction is very needed in everyday's life and during online classes we are needed to use laptop which require us to stay in rooms all alone to avoid any disturbance. Last but not least is accessibility to resources. There are some cases which some students have to share their resources with their siblings, which this will affect the performance of the students during classes, and this will cause them to feel more demotivated to finish their tasks as they do not have sufficient resources to finish the task and get access to the online classes. I'm going to talk about the underlying theory or model. In this research, we are going to use the metacognitive skills in this context, which mental health there are encountered by the students cannot be eradicated. College students will likely to encounter some kind of mental illness, diagnosed, undiagnosed, long-term or temporary. This means that if it is not treated, it will lead to the development of mental illness among students. Students who are struggling in regard to mental health must put an effort to integrate metacognitive skills. In metacognitive awareness, it comprises awareness of oneself, on how one's minds work, what strategies work best for the individual. This particular skill is a perfect example of a future strategy for the issue of mentally ill college student and their learning process. In this conceptual framework, it will show the connection between the mental stability among UiTM Sabah students to the several independent variables such as students' motivation, students' lifestyle, social interaction, and accessibility to resources. I'm going to talk about the research methodology, which is first population. It will focus on the two students in UiTM Sabah. The sampling frame will be conducted to the Part 5 students in Bachelor of Administrative Science under the Faculty of Administrative Science and Policy Studies. The reason why we chose Part 5 students because during Part 5, it is highly based on the discussion methods where we need to discuss about the research. It needs a lot of consultation from lecturers. And next, the sample design, the data from this research will be conducted in questionnaire, which will be distributed to the respondents. Finally, I'm going to talk about the conclusion, which is firstly, most students are struggling during online classes considering several factors that have been discussed before. Students are affected also seek help from the professional in order to avoid from the development of mental illness such as depression and anxiety. And finally, both students and lecturers must be able to cooperate as lecturers also are taking their own pace to get used to this new norm. Thank you.